The Yakuza series is now over a decade old, and it's the longest running IP introduced by Sega since leaving the console race. There have been a ton of titles released, and gamers that missed the train a decade ago are looking for the perfect jumping on point. Since this game is a prequel to the franchise, I would say this is the perfect game to get if you have never played a Yakuza game. So what is a Yakuza game? Yakuza games blend a mix of Sega classic beat-em-up gameplay like Die Hard Arcade or the Spike Out series, and mashes it with Japanese RPG elements. Actually, the series has grown much larger than most Japanese RPGs these days, and Yakuza 0 is an evolution of over a decade of trying to perfect the formula. In Yakuza 0, you play as series regular Kazuma Kiryu and anti-hero Goro Majima. The game takes place 17 years before the events of the first Yakuza game and sees both of our heroes in their early 20s. At the start of the game, Kazuma is working as a debt collector for the Tojo clan, trying to work his way up the ladder to make the person that raised him proud. You see, Kazuma was an orphan as a kid, and one of the people that helped raise him was a Yakuza named Kazuma Shintaro, who at this point in the story is arrested for an unrelated crime. After making a debt collection, Kazuma finds out that the person he collected for ended up dead. What makes it worse? The empty lot that the body was found in is actually very sought after land. So much so that the Tojo clan is giving away Kazama's position to anyone that acquires the lot. Kazuma decides to cut his ties with the Tojo clan, find out who framed him for murder, and try to acquire the lot for himself so he could keep his mentor's position in the Yakuza. On the other side of the coin, we have Goro Majima, who starts his story a year after losing his eye for failing to call off an assassination attempt. Due to this event, he was kicked out of the Tojo clan and will only be let back in if he fills certain conditions. At the start of the game, one of Majima's conditions is to manage a hostess club and make over 100 million yen, but later gets his big break. You see, he's given an assassination job. If he kills a target, he gets let back into the Tojo clan. The problem? The hit is on a blind woman. The story goes more in depth, adding a ton of great side characters to interact with and a ton of things to do as you solve all the mysteries. Is there a ton of weird established relationships in Yakuza 0? Yes, but it's always been the case with Yakuza games, even the first one. It always feels like you've been thrown in a random day in the lives of these over-dramatic gangsters. This Yakuza seems to be more condensed in the story, and that's thanks to only having 2 playable characters. The issue with Yakuza 5 was that having 5 playable characters meant that you had to introduce them into the story, and if you ever played a Yakuza game, there is a lot of talking, especially when they introduce new gameplay modes. While Yakuza 0 still uses cliches the series is known for, it actually doesn't abuse them as the other games in the past have, and uses them sparsely enough that when it happens, it's not a big deal. The game introduces a new mode called Real Estate Manager. This mode lets you buy out buildings, invest in said buildings, and hire personnel. Depending on the stats of each person that's hired or grade of the building and how much you invest in it, that's how much money you get in return. While Goro Majima gets to run a hostess club, and in Goro's mode, it's actually kind of lifted from Yakuza 4. But they improved it quite a bit. Now it's all menu based. It was kind of annoying in the old one, but this one is improved. It's like the greatest hits of the host is managing. The good thing about both of these modes is that they tie in with your sub-stories. And actually, that's one of the best parts of Yakuza games. Why are sub-stories great? They are usually short stories of people living in the city and are usually very funny. The game offers 100 sub-stories between both Kazuma and Majima. Something new that they added with the sub-stories is the ability to befriend people around the city, allowing you to grow that friendship and unlock items or storylines. Most of the people you meet in the sub-stories end up working for you either in your real estate or hostess business, giving the gamer more reason to invest and finish those sub-stories. And trust me, there's a lot of them and you're gonna love them. There's some really good stuff. One even has Michael Jackson. Yakuza 0 also mixes up the fighting in the game. The past games had each playable character focus on one fighting style. Now with Yakuza 0, characters have 3 fighting styles. For example, Kazuma has Rush, Brawler, and Beast. Each one is different enough to make things interesting, and it's always recommended to try to mix things up depending on your situation. For example, Beast Mode lets you pick up grabbable items in mid-combo, so if you're in the middle of a fight with a bunch of grabbable objects, you probably want to use Beast. If you're going against somebody that's fast, you probably want to use Rush Mode. While on the other side, we have Goro Majima, who has the most bizarre fighting style in this game, such as Thug, Breaking, and Slugger. Slugger literally gives him a bat with infinite hits, and Breaking has our ex-Yakuza friend, Breakdancing. Seriously, looks like something straight out of Tekken 3. The Yakuza series introduced dozens and dozens of mini-games throughout the years, and Yakuza 0 continues to add, while bringing back some fan-favorite games. Yakuza 0 very much seems like the greatest hits when it comes to mini-games. The game features pool, darts, the UFO machine, fishing, mahjong, and even karaoke. Some of the new exclusive introduced mini-games include disco, hotlines, catfight gambling, and watching pervy videos. The Sega arcades are back in this game, and this time it's 80s themed, packaging some of Sega's greatest arcade games from the 80s. This includes fully playable versions of Space Harrier, Outrun, Fantasy Zone, and even Hang On. While we've had bigger arcade titles in past games, these are all fantastic and fit perfectly with the theme of the game. You can spend dozens of hours on these games alone. Yakuza 0 offers just enough tweaks and changes to make the formula feel fresh. The writing continues to stay witty, and it's pretty nice to play as our heroes when they were younger. Like always, these Yakuza games pack so much content that it's almost impossible to go through everything that it has to offer. I give this game a B+, totally worth checking out for new and old fans. To read an extended review of Yakuza 0, head over to segabits.com. If you like these slick dance moves, make sure you tap that like button, and if you haven't, give us a sub. Thanks for watching.